We left off on page 3 of the PDF. This is, I think we left off around line 52. I'm going to back up just a couple more lines. Line 50, Antigone says to Ismene, remember, daughters of Oedipus, Creon's their uncle, and I don't really know what else with the whole incest thing. There's got to be some other relationship, but I don't know what it is. If you're into incest, you can figure it out on your own. Anyways, Antigone says, will you share the labor, share the work? What work? What's the risk? Notice she wants to know up front, what are the problems associated with this? Okay? What do you mean? And she raises her hands up. Will you lift up his holy body? She doesn't mean that literally, okay? She means kind of like lifting hands up in prayer. And you've got a footnote, if she's to bury the body and she speaks of lifting it, Antigone obviously needs Ismene's help. Without it, all she can do is perform a symbolic ritual, sprinkling the corpse with dust and pouring libations. But that's not necessarily just a symbolic ritual. That is, according to the rites, that's enough, okay? If that's all one can do. Ideally, you would bury the corpse for what very rational, commonsensical reason? If you just sprinkle it with dust, what can still happen to it? Decompose. Keep going. What helps speed along decomposition of skunk and armadillo and possum and deer corpses you see along the roads? Vultures. Scavengers will come and tear it apart. If you just sprinkle it with a little dust, some vulture's not going to go, oh, gee, I can't eat that. I'll get dirt in my beak or whatever, okay? So, you'd bury him when the law forbids the city? Yes, he's my brother. No one will convict me for a traitor. Who does she mean by no one? It's an interesting question because I'm not positive, I think it presumes that Antigone's thinking of a trial by jury. Okay? And if she has a jury of her peers, and that idea of a jury of one's peers essentially does partially at least go back to ancient Greece. That other play that I mentioned one day, Agamemnon, it's part of 3 plays, generally called the Oresteia. You have Agamemnon, I think it's the libation bearers, and the third one, the Eumenides, okay? That whole cycle of plays by Aeschylus is ultimately about one basic idea, justice, okay? And it's the transformation from a form of justice that we see in Agamemnon, right? Agamemnon's wife gets justice for her dead daughter. How? From what I've told you. By killing him. Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth mentality. All right? In the second play, Agamemnon's son, Orestes, it's why it's called the Oresteia, Orestes gets justice for his dead father by killing his mother. All kinds of problems there, right? Third play is about these characters, who are going to be alluded to a little bit later that we're going to talk about. The Furies or Harpies, or the Erinyes is another, I think, a French version of it, about their pursuit of Orestes for justice. Why? he killed his mother. These beings, they're kind of, they're the defenders of the dead. Since the dead can't defend themselves anymore, they pursue the living to exact vengeance. Not by killing. No, the vengeance they exact, it's up here. They terrorize. They haunt. All right, it's really bad within the Greek mythology. Okay? So, when she says no one will ever convict me for a traitor, I think that's presupposing that it's after the events that are related in this play occur. Because in that play, Athena institutes a new form of justice for the Greeks. You get this eye for an eye mentality replaced with, we're going to have a group of jurors. And the accused will get to, those who are prosecuting will get to present their case, and the accused will get to present a defense, and then the jurors have to decide. No longer is it bloodlust. No one will ever convict me for a traitor. Think of that in the 20th century. Think of that today. Okay? A guy's daughter gets raped. Brutally. Horrifically. Any rape is brutal and horrific, but it's, and the guy finds the guy who does it and kills him. I'm not going to say in all places, because I can think of a few where it wouldn't. In the South, what's going to happen at that trial? I think it could be wrong. I think it's pretty safe to say most places, that guy's not going to get convicted. Or if he is, it's not going to be first degree, murder. It's going to be negligent homicide. Negligent, like he didn't really mean to cut the guy up in little pieces. But more than likely, he's going to get off. That's what she's getting at, okay? So, Ismene, so desperate, and Creon has expressly, he has no right to keep me from my own. Who is she saying is her own? Polynices, her dead brother. So Ismene says, stop for a moment, just stop, think. Think how our own, and she relates family history, how our own father died, hated, his reputation in ruins, driven on, blah, blah, blah. Gouges on eyes out, then mother, his mother, and wife, both in one, and that means we're a sister, whatever. Last, our two brothers dead in a single day. They killed each other. What she really, part of what she's getting at is, man, we are upped family, right? We're the only ones left. Think what a death will die. The worst of all, if we violate the laws and override the fixed decree of the throne, its power, we must be sensible. Meaning, what? We must be sensible. Keep in mind the whole mindset, ideology of this period. Whether it's of Sophocles' time period, plays produced in 441 BC, or earlier. Who's the we, first of all? Antigone and Ismene, who are women. We must be sensible. We don't have any power. We don't have any authority. We don't have any say. We can't challenge the laws. Why? We have no control in making the laws. All of that stuff. Therefore, we must be sensible, which means get in line, follow the law. Okay? Remember, we are women. We're not born to contend with men. And that is an issue in the play. Because when Creon finally realizes who it is that has defied him, he uses some words that are pretty clear about how he takes this defiance. Then two were underlings, ruled by much stronger hands. So we must submit in this, and things still worse. Things still worse? Yes, Sophocles probably is talking about sex, enforced sex. Because it's thought by a lot of scholars, not all by any means, and we know this partially from pictorial evidence that survives from ancient Greece. Parts of ancient Greece, I don't remember if Athens was included in this, I think it was. Homosexuality was kind of the standard, the common standard accepted behavior. And the only reason men had sex with women, sorry, my brain's just more fried than usual, is for the propagation of the race, to keep the Athenians going, so to speak, okay? So she says, tell you what, I'll beg the dead to forgive me. That doesn't mean here. It means when I die, I'm forced. I have no choice. Right? Think about that. If you are forced to do something, then what does that mean? You cannot do. You can't do otherwise. Okay? Is she literally forced? Are her hands tied behind her? No, they're not. Okay? I must obey the ones who stand in power. Antigone, I won't insist. No, even if you have a change of heart. In other words, forget it. Forget I ever mentioned it. I never said word one to you about burying Polynices. Do as you like, whatever suits you best. I'll bury him myself. What is she showing there? What kind of attitude? What kind of emotion? Fine. Do what the hell ever you want. It's also what? Louder? It's very manipulative. I mean, the whole family is manipulative. Okay? What else? It's rash. It's spur of the moment. Notice, even if you have a change of heart, nope, you don't get out. And even if I die in the act, that death will be a glory. See, if Antigone's going to mention glory several times in the play, Sophocles is a genius for including that. Here's why. If she never mentioned this, then the play becomes totally this, not this. It becomes totally, do I follow the laws of the gods, or do I follow the laws of a puny little man who happens to sit on a throne? If you accept the world of the play, the ideology of the play, that there are gods, beings with enormous power and control and authority over you, which do you choose? You pretty much go with the gods, because they can do all kinds of things that you don't want to think about. But she introduces this. How does that throw a wrinkle? If you're dying for the right, not right to do something, but for what is right, most people will go, wow, way to go. That shows integrity. If you're dying for this, that muddies the integrity. Why? Because that's narcissistic. That's selfish. That's me. Not what is just and true and right and good, etc., etc. Okay? Even if I die in the act, that death will be a glory. I will lie with the one I love and love by him. No, it's not talking about incest. She's saying, when I die, I will be with Polynices. And he will respect me, and I will still respect him. Why? Because when you die, how long are you dead? Forever at that point. It doesn't change. I have longer to please the dead than please the living here. dead forever. Here, it's a crapshoot, right? We don't know when we're going to die. Crapshoot refers to shooting craps. It doesn't refer to the other. Do as you like, dishonor the laws the gods hold in honor. Notice, that means the laws of the gods versus the laws of the state, the laws of the king, the laws of Congress, etc. I do them no dishonor. I would do them no dishonor. What's the verb would mean there? It goes back to the Old English verb, which means desire, wish. We think it just means will. It's not just will. Okay? I desire to do the gods no dishonor. I wish to do the gods no dishonor. But defy the city. So notice how as many frames the problem. God's city. Rock, hard place. She and Antigone are right in between. What's Antigone saying? I'm going to move closer to the rock. Ismene says, I picked the hard place. You have your excuses. Why doesn't she say you have your reasons? What's the difference between a reason and an excuse? A reason is justified. An excuse is a justification. There's a difference between those. Okay? Or it's an attempted justification. So she says, I'm going to go bury him. Antigone, you're so... The word we heard to describe Oedipus, rash. You're so rash, impulsive, impetuous. I'm afraid for you. Don't fear for me. Set your own life in order. What does she mean, set your own life in order?
Worry about yourself while worry about me.
Yeah, keep going. Set it in order for what? What is she afraid for Antigone about? What's the law? You bury Polynices, you die. I'm afraid for you. So Antigone turns that back on her. Don't fear for me, set your own. In other words, you need to prepare yourself for that which is never ending, death. You're going to see when we get to Hamlet. Towards the end of the play, Hamlet's talking with a friend, and he's got a queasy feeling in his stomach, and it doesn't have anything to do with having eaten something. He's got a foreboding about what's about to happen. And he's talking about death. And he says, if it be not today, it'll be tomorrow. If it be not tomorrow, it'll be today. The readiness is all. Meaning, you have to be ready today to die. Why? Because it might come today. And if you're ready today, then what does that mean? You will be ready tomorrow. And you'll be ready the next day. The readiness for death is everything. That's what all means there. Okay? Ismene, okay. I'll set my life in order, but don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody what you're doing. And I'll keep it a secret too. Dear God, shout it from the rooftops. Let's update it. Put it on TikTok. Just get it out there, Go viral. Why? Why does she want her to tell all the world? I think it goes back to this. The more people who know the wonderful thing you did, what? Finish the kind of sentence.
The more people do the same thing.
Possibly. That's being charitable.
They think more highly.
The more people will praise you. I was reading a thing, I heard about this a couple of weeks ago. Some guy who's a YouTube sensation, just the very phrase disturbs me in so many ways, of being a YouTube sensation. But anyway, some guy's got millions of followers apparently on YouTube. Used a bunch of money that he's earned from his monetization on YouTube and has helped over 1,000 people who are blind get cataract surgery so they can see. But there's a proviso with that. They have to agree that he can be there when the bandages are off with his camera so that he can record their expressions and reactions. Why? So he can put it on YouTube. And I was reading this little thing today, part of Bari Weiss's Free Press. You can look it up. Where her sister, I think it is, either a sister or wife, one of the two, says something to the effect of, you know, charity ought to be quiet. Doing good deeds, you ought to do that behind closed doors. You don't draw attention to yourself. Because it kind of does what? It sullies by emphasizing this, by look what a good person I am, you know. So, tell everybody. So fiery, it ought to chill your heart. I know I please where I must please the most. Who's that? Polynices? Yeah, maybe. The gods. Once my strength gives out, I'll be done. When I'm dead, I'm dead. You're wrong from the start. You're off on a hopeless quest. What's the hopeless quest? Bury Polynices. All right, fine. If you say so, you will make me hate you, and the hatred of the dead by all rights will haunt you day and night. Leave me to my own absurdity. Leave me to suffer this. The hatred of the dead, that is, the hatred the dead will feel you, that's alluding to this, but we get it more clear later. I will suffer nothing as great as death without glory. Was she really saying, I want people to know I died? And in one sense, this is a very mid-20th century existentialist work. And when this play was put on in the mid-20th century, it was put on exactly from that perspective. This is Antigone authenticating her existence, validating her reason for being. All right? So, she leaves. Ismene gets the last word. Notice a footnote. There's no stage direction in the text that survives. Chorus comes in. Okay? So the chorus gets the parados. It's the first time the chorus enters the stage. You have what's called the parados. Chorus comments on what's been said, and it foreshadows what's going to be said. Notice the chorus kind of ignores Ismene's last words. It focuses on what? Glory. So it becomes a theme. Great beam of the sun. Well, the sun is glorious to look at. Not too long, because you'll go blind. And then you got to see the YouTube sensation guy. Brightest of all that ever rose on the seven gates of Thebes. And they talk about Oedipus. They talk about Oedipus' sons. They talk about the problems Thebes is going through, etc. Okay? Skipping a bunch. 173. Crayon comes in. But look, the king of the realm is coming. Crayon, the new man for the new day. What's that mean, the new man for the new day? There is used to be. I don't remember the last time I looked. Might have been a couple years ago. Used to be a fantastic production of this available on YouTube. And I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Crayon. If you saw him, you'd recognize him. And it's done in kind of modern dress, and it's kind of very militaristic and futuristic. All right? Crayon looks like a dictator. Why? Because in the play, Crayon's pretty much a dictator. This play, by the way, was famously, we don't have the play in your book because I won't go into it. This play was produced in Paris during the Nazi occupation. And the Nazis were too damn stupid to realize what, can't remember the playwright who directed it, didn't write it, was doing. Because it was kind of mocking the Nazis. And Crayon comes across as a little Fuhrer, all right? I mean, they dress him like the Nazi. I mean, just mind-boggling that they allowed it to go on. So, new man for the new day. How so? That's the chorus kind of saying, the house of Laius, all the problems with the prophecy and murder and incest and done, gone. Wipe it clean, put it under the rug. Whatever the gods are sending now, what new plan will he launch? Notice the chorus stops. Whatever the gods are sending now means what's going to happen next? What shoe is going to drop? Why this special session? Like the Senate has been reconvened. Why? What's the point? Crayon comes in. He gets a great speech. Well, he thinks it's a great speech. 180. My countrymen, the ship of state is safe. Notice that metaphor to describe the ship, the country or state as a ship is thousands of years old. It's a ship what? On rocky seas. Okay? And now he says, it's safe. We're back in the harbor. We're at port. The gods who rocked her after long, merciless pounding in the storm, that is, Laius, Oedipus, etc., have righted her once more. Out of the whole city I've called you here alone. Well, I know. First, your undeviating respect. Why is he called the chorus? Because you showed respect to Laius, and when Laius died, you respect to Oedipus. His point? The respect wasn't to Laius or to Oedipus, it was to what?
His position.
Louder?
His position as king.
The king, the throne. Okay? So he says, the two brothers are dead, and as I'm next in kin, I now possess the throne and all its powers. I don't think we've ever had a president who, in his inaugural address, stood up and said, I now possess Washington, D.C. and all its powers. They are mine. I mean, go all evil. Okay? That's kind of what he does. But then he kind of backtracks. You cannot know a man completely, his character, his principles, sense of judgment, not till he's shown his colors, ruling the people, making laws. Experience. There's the test. Dramatic irony. How so? How is that ironic? What experience does Crayon have at ruling? None. Thank you. They can't know his character. Right? Why, in the history of the United States, have there been very few senators elected president? Louder?
Because they know their past.
Okay. Because we know their past. Why, if you have senators or a senator running against a governor in the history of the United States, does the governor usually win?
The governor has been in executive power.
Bingo. The governor has been an executive. The governor's called the shots. Senators do what? What is the Senate known for?
Slacking off.
Okay, slack off? No, that's a negative way of putting it. It's the world's greatest deliberative body. What does that mean?
So they just said no.
They talk. They deliberate. House of Representatives is meant to be hot-headed. It's meant to be people at each other's throats. It's meant to pass crazy bills. And then it goes to the Senate, and it sits there, and it gathers dust while the Senate deliberates. Okay? He's been a senator, essentially. I mean, what does he tell us in Oedipus? You rule Your sister co-rules, and I get all the perks of the job without having to make any decisions. Okay? Experience, there's the test. How many times have, in your lifetimes, a president been elected, and maybe you voted for him, and then at, a year, a week, a day, whatever, after you think, shit, voted for the wrong one. I mean, I can go back decades and think that. So, as I see it, whoever assumes the task, the awesome task of setting the city's course, and refuses to adopt the soundest policies, but fearing someone, keeps his lips locked tight, he's utterly worthless. What does that mean? If he has an idea, the person who's going to steer the ship, has an idea of what are the soundest policies, but he refuses to do something because he fears someone. What is that getting at? Think of it in a modern context, because it applies to this time period too. If a president has what he thinks is, or she thinks is a sound policy, but doesn't enact it because of why? Public opinion. The wind's going to blow against me on this one. The truly great presidents have been the ones who have done what? Shaped public opinion. They got the public to stand behind them. How? Reason, rhetoric, propaganda, all those things. Okay? But they got the people to move behind them, to stand with them. Rather than, what should I do, folks? Okay, so we have 1 opinion, 2 opinions, 3 opinions, 4 opinions, 5 opinions. Oh, that's one way to do it. Or we have this block of people versus this block of people versus, and you end up with what? Nothing. Or you play this block against this block. So I rate him now, always have. Whoever places a friend above the good of his own country, I'm not even going to touch on that one. He is nothing. God is my witness. He channels Scarlett O'Hara. I could never stand by silent watching destruction march against our city, etc., etc. So, our country is our safety. If our country is safe, we are safe. Sounds like what? Is that the voice of a populist? The person who speaks for the people? No, that's the voice of an authoritarian. Okay? So, only while she voyages true on course can we establish friendships truer than blood. Such are my standards. They make our city great. And so he says, these are my standards. I'm going to protect the city no matter what. And here's what flows from that. Eteocles, who died defending the city. In other words, he was a what? Starts with a P and ends with a T. Patriot. He gets full military honors. Polynices, who was a, starts with a T, ends with an R, traitor, he gets to rot out in the open city. And he means that, literally, in the open city, where everybody has to walk by and look at the slowly decomposing corpse. Okay? No one will dignify him with burial, mourn him at all. He must be left unburied for the dogs and the birds to eat. Those are my principles. Never at my hands will the traitor be honored above the patriot, blah, blah, blah. And if somebody does try to bury him, capital punishment. Okay? Leader replies, if this is your pleasure, Crayon, treating our city's enemy and our friend this way, if, what is if? Always. It's a conditional. What does it always introduce when it's used in this kind of fashion? Best course? think about this a little bit? The power's yours. Why is the power his? He's the king. Power is yours. And then, I suppose. Why the I suppose? Stop and think about it. That's a questioning by introducing that. Follow my orders closely then. Be on your guard. Now the leader takes that to mean, wait, you want us old men to guard the body? No. You get some young guys to do that. He goes, no, I don't mean that. Just, he is asking them to guard. Guard what? His principles. The kind of city I've described. So what are your commands? See that you never side with those who break my orders. Only a fool would do that. Why? Because death is the price. And as soon as he says that, a sentry comes in, bringing what news? Somebody tried to bury Polynices. Does he just come right out and say that? He says, I've come with a good grip on one hope. What will come, whatever fate. Get to the point. First, I didn't do it. Didn't see who did. Don't take it out on me. What's he really saying? What phrase do we use today? Don't shoot the messenger. Okay? Somebody just buried the body. Then run off. Sprinkled dry dust on the flesh. What man alive would dare? Now, in that context, I don't know what the original Greek is. I'll throw that up front. But my guess is it's literal man. It doesn't mean what human alive. Okay? In other words, it's referring to the actual sex of a male. Because that's going to be an issue that's going to be discussed later. Sentry, no idea. No mark of a spade, no mark of a pickaxe. That is, nothing was dug around the body. Okay? So, once they discovered the body had been partially buried, what do the guards around the body do? They start accusing each other. Why? I didn't do it. You did it. I don't want to die. You die. Nice camaraderie there, you know. So he loses the draw of the short stick, and he's got to be the one to come tell him. Leader, 3:15. Ever since he began, I'm debating in my mind, could this be the work of the gods? Might the gods have gone and blown dust on Polynices' body? Yeah. Before you make me choke with anger, the gods? You're senile. Why would the gods have slightest concern for that corpse? And he's going to go on and make some accusations. He's going to say, do you think the gods favored Polynices, gave him a burial because they prized him? Because they were happy that he was going to burn their temples and burn their hallowed ground and burn their sacred treasures? No. From the first, there were certain citizens who could hardly stand the spirit of my regime. What he really means is, there were people who didn't want me to be king. Why? Not why did they not want me to be king? Why would somebody bury Polynices? What does he immediately jump to? Money. Somebody was paid to do it. Sound like anybody we've read about before? What does Oedipus almost immediately accuse Tiresias of? Trading prophecy for money. And then when Creon comes back in, he does the same to Creon. Notice money, the root of all evil, as Paul says to Timothy. Nothing worse in our lives, so current, rampant, so corrupting. Money, you demolish cities, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So he says everybody's going to pay the price. And he turns on the sentry and he says, if you don't find the man who buried that corpse, the very man, I'm going to string you up alive. So you'll take the blame. Can I have a word before I leave? Everything you say offends me. Where does it hurt you? That is, where does what I say hurt you? Does it hurt your ears? Or he says your heart? What is he talking about? Who are you to pinpoint my displeasure? That is, you're nothing. Why even ask? The culprit, that is, the person who buried Polynices, grates on your feelings. That's the person who's displeased you. I just annoy your ears. Why? Because I bore the words that told you about the burial. Okay? I didn't do it. Yes, you did. You squandered your life for silver. Notice the progression in Crayon's mind. He does what? The exact same thing Oedipus did. Why? It's possible, not saying it's the case, it's possible that Sophocles is saying something about the nature of kingship. It makes you a little paranoid, and it makes you jump to conclusions. Athens, the time when Sophocles is writing this, not a king. You had a senate. Sparta, that Athens is getting ready to fight in the Peloponnesian Wars, if I remember that correctly, does not have a senate. It has a tyrannus, king. Oedipus the king, it's Oedipus tyrannus, or Oedipus rex, the other way it's called. Oedipus the tyrant, okay? You can be a benevolent tyrant or you can be a tyrannical tyrant. So, Sentry, it's terrible when the one who does the judging judges things all wrong. I'm sorry, Mr. Chief Justice Roberts, you were wrong. It's what he's saying. If you're going to be a judge, you have to judge rightly. So, Crayon again accuses him of taking money. And Crayon accuses him of taking money. Crayon goes inside the palace. So the sentry gets the last word in this little episode before the chorus comes in. I hope he's found, meaning whoever did the burying. Best thing by far, but caught or not, that's in the lap of fortune. I'm not coming back. Because he knows, if I come back, Crayon's going to kill me. So, chorus comes back in. This is the first stasimon. All right? The stasimon are the chorus's speeches, the whole chorus, in between the episodes. All right? And the chorus comes in and talks about what a wonder humanity is. We can reason, we can talk, all this kind of stuff. All right? And then the chorus sees the sentry coming back. The same sentry who said, I'm never coming back. And he's leading Antigone. Here's a dark sign from the gods. A dark sign. A riddle. What does this mean? I know her. Who can deny it? That's Antigone. Notice, young girl. I don't think that means she's like 8 years old. I think it means she's a teenager. Probably late teens, possibly early 20s. Old enough to be married, so possibly 13, okay, because she's engaged to someone. We find this out a little bit later. Wretched child of a wretched father, etc. Sentry, she did it. Caught her red-handed. Okay, and Crayon comes in. Nothing you can swear to, nothing you'll ever do, the sentry says. Second thoughts make liars of us all. Why? Because I swore I would never come back, and yet here I am. Oh, by the way, here she is. Take her, question her, line 440. Cross-examine her to your heart's content. But set me free. In other words, no more of this talk about me taking money to... Okay? Prisoner. Her? You took her? Where? Doing what? Was the sentry not clear? No, the sentry was crystal clear. Why doesn't Crayon understand that? Where? Doing what? Burying the man. Whole story. That's pretty clear. What? You mean what you say? You're telling me the truth? She's the one with my own eyes. Eyewitness. What does a defendant never want to have show up in the dock, in the witness stand? An eyewitness to the crime. Is that plain and clear? In other words, hello, Crayon, clear enough for you? What did you see? Did you catch her in the act? Smack. And he goes on and tells him. Okay? You, with your eyes on the ground. Speak up. Why are her eyes on the ground? Why does Sophocles tell us her eyes are on the ground? Is this an act of maiden modesty? Probably not. Is this an admission of guilt? She can't look up and look the king, her uncle, in the face? No idea. Do you deny you did this, yes or no? Why does he ask that question when the sentry said, I saw her? And not just the sentry. What could the sentry do as further evidence? Have the other guards come in, because there was more than one. They all saw it. I did it. Don't deny a thing. Get it. Crayon says to the sentry. So he asks her another question. Were you aware a decree had forbidden this? Well aware. How could I avoid it? It was public. It's on every screen in Thebes, Third question. And you still had the gall to break the law? Why all the questions? What is Crayon offering Antigone? He's giving her an out. Do you deny you did this? What if she said, yes, I deny it. I didn't bury him. What, surmise for a moment, what do you think Crayon would do? Yeah. You, sentry, you did. Okay? But she doesn't deny it. He gives her another out. Did you hear about the decree? Oh, golly gee, Mr. Crayon, no, I never heard there was a decree forbidding the burial of my brother. Oh, well, if you didn't know. Well aware. You still had the gall to break this law. Of course. Notice her attitude. Damn straight I did. It wasn't Zeus who made this proclamation. What has she just done by making that statement? You're a puny little king. Zeus is Zeus. It wasn't God who made this decree. Not to me. And by that, she's kind of implying, to some people, you are a god. To some people, the Greek city-states that had kings, the kings were the gods. What did, not Caesar, but definitely Augustus, by the time we get to Augustus, what did Caesar Augustus proclaim to the Romans? The very fact that he has the name Augustus means what? The august one. The high. I'm a god. You got to start praying to me. Have to start burning things to me. as well as all the other gods. Okay? Nor did that justice dwelling with the gods beneath the earth. That's this. That's the Furies. That's that unnameable justice that will seek you out and find you. Okay? Nor did that justice dwelling with the gods beneath the earth ordain such laws for men. She has just said, Crayon, you've gone against the gods. You've gone against justice. You've gone against morality. You've set yourself up higher than the gods. And from what we know of Greek tragic literature, what does that mean? Crayon's going to fall. Nor did I think your edict had such force that you, a mere mortal, could override the gods. The great, unwritten, unshakable traditions. Your law doesn't override the great, notice, unwritten, unshakable traditions. What's one of the huge differences between the United States and, let's say, for example, the Great Britain, the United Kingdom? What does the United States have that Great Britain does not have? A written constitution. Great Britain's constitution is oral. It goes back. They have a constitution of sorts. It's the common law, which there are individual laws that make up part of that common law, but they don't have a constitution like we have. Ours was the first country in the history of the world that created this kind of document that specified everything about the government. And since then, France, I think, was the first, drafted a, and then all these other countries do. She's saying, the laws I'm following, they're unwritten. They are written, kind of. How? Where? It's the moral law. What C.S. Lewis refers to ultimately as this idea of fairness. Every culture in the world has a standard of morality, and that standard ultimately is what is fair. Cutting in line in front of somebody at a movie theater isn't fair, right? Used to be somebody asked you kindly, to take your, now you get shanked or shot or, something like that. That's what she's getting at. They are alive, not just today or yesterday. Is she referring to the gods, or is she referring to the great unwritten, unshakable traditions? I think it's both, but I think it's more the traditions. Notice tradition means what? How does she know these traditions today when she's speaking? Because they were passed on all the way back to, turn the page. They live forever from the first of time, and no one knows when they first saw the light. We don't know what their origins are, she says, but these are innate. That's first saw the light. These laws, I wasn't about to break them, not out of fear of some man's wounded pride. Ooh. Nameless, metaphorically, faceless, powerless, personless woman accuses him of having wounded pride. I know I've got to die. I've known it all my life. Why? Everything that lives dies. How could I keep from knowing, even without your death sentence ringing in my ears? She says, and if I'm going to die before my time, fine. Leader, like father, like daughter, just doesn't know when to shut the hell up. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? She hasn't learned to bend before adversity. That Aesop fable that I mentioned. Oak tree, stalk of wheat. Big windstorm like we've had over the last week. Oak tree, gone. Wheat bends, comes back up. We're going to hear Hamlet talk about the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Okay? Creon. Stubborn wills, they fall the hardest. Dramatic irony. We think Antigone's stubborn. Whoo! We see stubbornness on Creon's part. But he does give. We will see him give. Okay? This girl was an old, notice, this girl was an old-handed insolence when she overrode the edicts we made public. We're almost done. Once she had done it, the insolence twice over, to glory in it. So it was bad enough that she did the burying. But now she's taking glory in it. There's this idea. And she's celebrating it, mocking us to our face with what she'd done. Who's the us? It's the royal we. It's me, Creon. I am not the man, not now. She is the man if this victory goes to her. What does he really mean? If she has power, keep going. If I let her off, then Antigone will metaphorically have done what to Creon? It's an idea guys don't like to think about. Castrated him, emasculated him. So he, kind of crosses his legs when he says it. Yeah, we've got battle of the sexes, right there. Sophocles is writing this in the 5th century BC. He sees, maybe, I think he does, there's an issue with women not having any authority, say, power in their own destiny. Okay, we'll stop there. We're going to pick up line 555 on Monday. We'll probably finish this on Wednesday of next week. It puts us a little bit behind, but we can catch up easily. Have a good weekend.